April 26, 1986. In the city of Pripyat, it's a beautiful spring day. Kids are playing, families are planning their weekends, and everything is perfectly, wonderfully normal. A few kilometers away, at the Vladimir I. Lenin nuclear power plant, a team of engineers is running a routine safety test. The test involves seeing what happens when you turn off most of the safety systems on an RBMK reactor, a design so advanced it featured a positive void coefficient. In layman's terms, that means when it starts to get too hot, it gets even hotter faster. A real go-getter of a reactor. A feature, not a bug, in Soviet atomic design, where every problem is just an opportunity for heroism. What could possibly go wrong? At 1:23 a.m., the answer to what could go wrong arrives with the force of several hundred tons of TNT. Reactor 4 is gone. Not damaged, not on fire, but gone. The night sky is lit up by an eerie, beautiful column of ionized air. In the control room, Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov, a man whose management style was pure, uncut stubbornness, refuses to accept this. He insists it's a hydrogen tank explosion. Plant Director Viktor Brukhanov is called, and upon hearing the news, his first instinct is classic Soviet bureaucracy. Call Moscow and tell them everything is under control. He reports a minor accident, a small fire, and radiation levels that were high, but not impossibly so, because the dosimeters they had on hand literally maxed out, which is one way to keep a number from looking too scary. The report lands on a desk in Moscow where the Politburo, a committee of very serious men, convenes. Their primary concern isn't the open reactor core spewing isotopes across the continent, it's the narrative. An uncontrolled nuclear catastrophe doesn't exactly fit the workers' paradise brand. So they do what they do best: form a commission. Mikhail Gorbachev, the fresh new face of reform and openness, is informed, but the official state policy is to say absolutely nothing. The state-run news agency, TASS, remains silent. Local officials are ordered to prevent panic, which is code for don't tell anyone they're being irradiated. The cloud of radioactive particles begins its silent, invisible journey north, completely unburdened by press releases. On Monday, April 28th, a man named Cliff Robinson walks into his job at the Forsmark nuclear power plant in Sweden. A radiation alarm goes off. Strange. The plant is checked from top to bottom, but there are no leaks. Then they realize the radiation isn't coming from inside the plant. It's on the outside. It's on the soles of their shoes. The Swedes, being quite good at science, analyze the isotopes and trace them back. The signature is distinctly Soviet. So they call Moscow. The response is essentially, "New phone? Who dis?" The USSR denies everything. Only when Sweden threatens to file an official alert with the International Atomic Energy Agency does Moscow finally crack. On Monday evening, TASS releases a 20-second statement admitting a minor accident occurred at Chernobyl, an understatement of historic proportions. While the world is slowly learning about the disaster, the Soviet machine of normalcy churns on. The city of Pripyat is finally evacuated 36 hours after the explosion, the residents told to pack for 3 days. Meanwhile, just 130 kilometers south in Kyiv, preparations are underway for the massive May Day parade. Despite knowing about the radioactive plume, Ukrainian party boss Volodymyr Sherbitsky, under pressure from Moscow, orders the celebration to proceed. And so, on May 1st, thousands of people, including children in traditional outfits, march through the streets of Kyiv, smiling and waving flags as cesium-137 and strontium-90 rain down upon them. The optics of a happy, unified state were, it seems, more important than the long-term health of its citizens. A truly spectacular own goal. Enter Valery Legasov, a prominent chemist and member of the Academy of Sciences. He's sent to Chernobyl as the scientific expert on the government commission. He sees the horror firsthand. He understands the scale of the lie. In August 1986, he's sent to Vienna to report to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Here was the chance for transparency. Instead, he delivered a carefully crafted 5-hour performance. He admitted to the RBMK reactor's design flaws, a huge concession for the Soviets. But he also heavily emphasized operator error, placing the blame squarely on the now dead or dying engineers in the control room. It was a partial truth designed to save face, to protect the reputation of the Soviet nuclear industry. Legasov told the truth, but not the whole truth, a distinction that would haunt him. The cleanup effort was a monument to both human courage and state cynicism. After West German robots failed in the high radiation fields on the roof, the Soviets deployed what they called biorobots. These were men, soldiers and reservists, given rudimentary protection and sent onto the most radioactive place on Earth for 90-second shifts to shovel graphite. Hundreds of thousands of people, known as liquidators, were conscripted from across the USSR to wash streets, fell forests, and build the massive sarcophagus. They were told they were heroes saving the world, which was true. They were not told the full long-term risks, because a fully informed hero might be less willing to charge into an invisible fire. The state used their patriotism as a resource, just like coal or iron ore. In the end, you can't cover up a meltdown. The truth seeped out, just like the radiation. Legasov, 2 years to the day after the explosion, released his own secret audio tapes detailing the full scope of the lies and design flaws before taking his own life. The health consequences for millions in Ukraine and Belarus became impossible to deny. The cost, both human and financial, was staggering. Chernobyl didn't just expose a faulty reactor, it exposed a faulty system. A government that lied to its own people about a life-or-death threat revealed its own moral bankruptcy. The policy of glasnost, or openness, was meant to reform the Soviet Union, but Chernobyl forced its hand. The disaster showed the world, and more importantly, the Soviet people, that the entire structure was built on a foundation of secrets and lies. And like Reactor 4, a structure that rotten can't stand for long. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more historical insights. Thanks for watching, nerds!